Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Look at where you are, right? The best podcast on the planet, the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. We're going back to the UK today. Are you guys ready? Do you have on your London fog coat? I hope so, because we're going to have a great conversation with Athena. Catherine is a mom, but she helps other moms dissolve and resolve emotional trauma. She's a therapist and an educator. She's got a very interesting story, something that I had never heard before, and I'm sure that all you brains are going to find it very fascinating. If you are a woman that is experiencing trauma, recovering from trauma, experiencing postpartum, or you're confused and you're struggling with your pregnancy, we're going to talk to you about that and help talk you through that with Catherine today. Let's welcome her to the show. How are you, beautiful?
Hi, April, and hello to your audience. I'm very well, thank you. Very excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. I told her how pretty she looks in pink, Brains. That's
Oh,
her
thank
color.
you.
That's her color. It's so feminine.
I
So
do like.
let's talk a little bit about how you show up in the world and how you found yourself working with this population of individuals, women, that struggle during their pregnancy and beyond.
Okay, so I am a dissolve and resolve emotions therapist. I trained with Joy Wisdom, who you had on your podcast, who is amazing, and she is the founder of Dissolve and Resolve Emotions, Dare Therapy for short, and many more things. So I met Joy when it was 2012. I was in a very different place to where I am now. So a little bit about my background. You mentioned the UK. I do live in England. I live in lovely Yorkshire. But I'm from Ireland. So I was born in Ireland in 1979. And some of your audience may or may not have heard of the Magdalen Laundries, which were homes essentially for unwed mothers ran by the church. So there was a lot of shame around, a woman becoming pregnant outside of wedlock, as they called it. So women were not really given a choice to go into these laundries. I mean, they were worked, pregnant, absolutely no support, a lot of shame based, seen as sinners, and then they had to give their baby up for adoption at birth. So it was really traumatic. And, it's not just in Ireland, it was very rife there, but, all around the world have been affected by these types of places. So I was born in 1979. My birth mum, and I just want to say there's no blame or judgment on my part, towards my birth family. They just found themselves in a set of circumstances that they didn't see a way out of. So my mum, I think she was with me for 3 days in the hospital and then she left. So a social worker took me as a 3-day-old baby down to an orphanage in Belfast, which was also run by nuns. Now, my mum and dad, who brought me up, my mum and dad, they had been trying for a baby. Obviously, then they didn't have the scans that they have now. They didn't have IVF, etc. So they went on the waiting list to adopt a child. I believe they had the option of adopting a boy, but they wanted a wee girl. So they waited for me. So it was meant to be, you know. So I was adopted at 3 months old, you know, and people don't realize the impact of all of that. And I didn't realize the impact of all of that would have on my life from there onwards. So I wouldn't have been breastfed. I wouldn't have been nurtured, cuddled in the orphanage. I would have been in a dormitory as such with other babies, you know, crying, probably for the mother, not being heard, and taken out of the cot, you know, to be fed by a bottle. Obviously, brain forming through all of this, coping strategies developing. So in my well, even childhood, looking back now, I can see that I had post-traumatic stress as a child. I didn't know why. Nobody knew why. I cried every day. Um, and as a teenager, I developed an eating disorder and had issues with addiction. Now, all of these things were treated separately, symptoms treated, and even back then, in the 1990s, again, they have more available now. There wasn't much really available then. And I remember my doctor actually, and you know, nice man. And I was saying, you know, I'm just not eating. I'm going days where I'm not eating any food. And you know, when it got to the stage where I really needed help and support, and his answer was, well, just eat, you know, some chicken and pasta. You'll be all right. You
Mm,
know, like if I could have done that, I wouldn't have been there, you know?
right.
So, so fast forward to 2006, when I became a mother myself. Now, I wasn't in a good relationship, um, by any stretch of the imagination, but when I was pregnant, I was really depressed. And again, not thinking this had anything to do with my own gestation. Um, but actually, you know, cells hold memories. So I essentially realized again through courses with Joy that my body had went into the shock and the trauma that I had experienced, you know, when
Yeah.
I was in the womb too. So that's a little bit of, I suppose,
That is really fascinating because I know during my pregnancy I did certain things. Good things. I can say that it was a great pregnancy. But I would play music.
mm,
Um, my husband would rub my belly and talk to my belly. When my daughter was being delivered, there was another young woman that was a single parent on the other side that had nobody with her. So my husbands were going back and forth. And it is the support and it is the womb. And people they don't really take it into consideration from the point of conception. Everything you ingest, inhale, absorb goes into that fetus. And when the baby comes out, um, let me tell you a little story. I don't know if you know Dr. Cornell West, but Dr. Cornell West told me as my mother was transitioning, he called me Sister April. He said, you have to understand that the birth process is traumatic. He says, because you are entering into a world between defecation, urination, and a puddle of blood and slime. And I was like, ew. And then as soon as you arrive, you are subjected to corporal punishment. Someone slaps you on your bottom, sucks snot out of your nose, thumps you on the bottom of your foot. But then what you realize is that they hold a party for you. They've welcomed you. They give you gifts. They kiss you. And then you've got to go through this thing called life. And you take all of that with you. So there is trauma from entry for everybody
mm,
that enters because that is the conduit that you come through. That is the vessel that you come through. So, bravo for you and Joy finding out, uncovering, discovering what this was and how to help you. And again, you did not know. Then when you go through your own birthing process, you think back, because did your adopted parents tell you that they adopted you, or did you find out, or what was that like?
I did know because I remember as a child going down to visit the nuns. So every year we would go down and visit the orphanage and see the nuns. And I remember them, again, this is the 1980s, wheeling out the tea trolley, and everything was so nice and quiet. And it was a nice memory. That was a nice memory, but
Yeah,
didn't
I
really,
heard those nuns can be cold-blooded though.
yeah,
Yeah. I
didn't
heard
realize what had went before.
exactly law and order. And I don't know, I'm not being judgmental, but because they have taken a vow of celibacy to see that there has been a perceived sexual indiscretion
Yeah.
against God and his order, there might be some issues there.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of it, I mean, I will say, is about power and control. A lot of those babies were sold to America, to Australia, to England, um, not knowing where they came from, what their genetic makeup was, which is something that you do wonder about. I did wonder about, even though I had parents who really, really wanted me. And I've written on my website that I did feel there was something missing. And again, through training with joy, I realized that actually that was the oxytocin, the
Mm,
love hormone that I hadn't received at birth. There was no bonding process. And again,
wow.
no judgment, April, because as a
Oh,
woman,
and
to
you
go through what she went through, I totally understand that you would have
know,
to detach. But that impacted me. And, you know, there's a lot of talk now about menopause and perimenopause. And again, the work that Joy is doing is phenomenal and training us as practitioners. You know, menopause isn't a separate thing. Women's health, it's not a separate
no,
thing because
no,
what we're, as you rightfully said, absorbing from the womb, so the chemicals, the peptides, loads of cortisol, even the emotions, the shame, the guilt, the fear, babies absorbing all of that, that is setting up baby's baseline and hormonal pattern for the rest of baby's life.
right,
So babies actually, the whole trajectory of that baby's life has been changed, and a lot of us are living actually not what we're here to live. And
right,
that was such a big part as well of Joy's work. It's like, you know, I was living this life that actually wasn't why I was here. So
right,
I was completely off track. And
right.
when I found joy, I mean, I had searched, I had trained in other modalities myself, but I was broken. I was broken. And
She is so
very,
gifted, not just with this, but with other spiritual modalities. She's very, very gifted. Very gifted.
she's phenomenal. And Joy herself had a journey of obviously training in different therapies. And, she would say that her experience was, and she trained with some of the best, but her experience was that she just felt that she wasn't getting to the levels with clients, and they weren't getting the results that she wanted to for them to experience. So that's why she founded Dissolve and Resolve Emotions, which is fantastic for women's health as well. And you know if we can clear birth trauma. We can clear birth trauma at any age, but if we can clear birth trauma, you know, mum's birth trauma before she even gets pregnant in the first place, everything is different. And another big part of this work, April, is epigenetics. So it's not just what
Yes.
we have
Generational trauma, absolutely. What your mother,
in
because we don't know what your birth mother was subjected to. Was it was something that she had to give away her child?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
again, I can speak about this now because she's gone on to glory. My mother got knocked up at 14 years old. She had no idea of what was even going on until her mother started crying and realized that she was about to deliver a baby. There are so many young women, and this, again, people can say what they want to say. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I am
I do
pro life,
very much.
absolutely.
Hmm.
But again, use my mother as an example. She had a pregnancy in the tube. What if she was not able to get the medical attention that she needed? She would have died. There are complications with fetuses. Um, a woman needs to be able to make the choice for herself because that's between her and her God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But let's talk to men in these situations that support these women or get these women pregnant. You know, it's not that easy to walk away because, again, you will be held accountable some way, sometime. Did you ever find your birth parents?
I did.
Wow.
So I was 30 years of age. My son was 4, and a few years prior, had left my husband, and that wasn't a safe relationship to be in. So I had been living in England. We moved back to Ireland for family support when my son was 1 year and 9 months. So I had postnatal depression, post-traumatic stress, and decided I know what'll make me feel better. I'll try and fill this gap, this hole in my
Right,
soul.
right, right.
So I did find them. I did find them, and it was really interesting. It was they.
You found both your mother and your father?
I found both actually. Yes, yes. So they didn't stay together. They did for a little while, and then obviously, the elephant in the room. It just became too difficult. They were 19 when I was born. So they both went on to have other marriages and partners, and I grew up an only child, but actually, I then found out that I'm the eldest of 6.
Oh,
So I have
wow.
siblings. I have siblings, some quite young. One girl was younger than my son, actually.
Hmm.
So it was a really lovely experience. And tomorrow is Mother's Day in the UK.
Okay.
So I do send my birth mum a happy Mother's Day
Oh,
message, and she sends me one back. I'm a mother too. So
oh.
that's really nice. And something, because even I remember as a child going to friends' houses, after school for dinner or whatever that was, or to play. And I was always fascinated by how they looked physically like their dad or their mum. So when I found my birth parents, I could really see the resemblance, in them and siblings and aunts and uncles. So just little things like that really helped.
Well, it was strange. I was leaving on a vacation going to Thailand, and I kept getting this message from this gentleman that had done a DNA test. And he said to me, "You're not responding." And I'm like, "I don't know who you are." He says, "I'm your half brother." I was like, wow, it's interesting. Come to find out that my father, which my mother and father were not married, um, had a couple kids. And so I bonded with this gentleman. And let me tell you, it has been the best thing ever. He's a wonderful person. He's a world traveler. He's funny. He flew down here from Northern California down here to visit with me. We had a great conversation. And so, some people in your life you get by default,
Mm.
others you get by choice.
Yeah.
And the fact that you were chosen by a family, did they love you? Were they good to you, your adopted family?
Yes, yes. I mean, like any family, nothing's perfect. But yes, I don't want to say they weren't good. They were very good. They were very good. Yes,
And
yes.
that's important too. And my brother was telling me how his mother was killed when he was 16 years old, someone came in the house and murdered him, and there was 8 children
Oh,
there. So there's a lot. And I have two other brothers that have since passed away as well, that I had a very close relationship. One was a narcissist, and then the other one was a jokester. But again, you get some things by default, you get other things by choice. And to be able to find resonance in both of those places is huge. It's not, it's a part of your characteristics, it's a part of your DNA, but it's also, again, setting up the next generation, because what are you going to be able to share with your son? You had a tumultuous relationship with their father, but you want to, with his father, but you want to be able to communicate that this is not the playbook for everybody's relationship.
absolutely.
What I
Yeah.
want you to do is to be able to look, to be able to see, and to be able to love. Sexuality now has just, it's worse than it was back then.
Mm.
They were sneaking around because it was, they were having fun. Now it is like a rite of passage, and it's very abusive,
Mm.
and it's very confusing, because there are sexual identities and sexual transformations that people are experiencing in their life that's causing additional judgment, additional pain, additional shame. You've got young women here, again, that in the United States, that are going to get pregnant. Oh, yes, every second, and
Mhm.
not have the choice.
Mhm.
You are having human trafficking.
Mhm.
Okay. They are selling adults, kids, and they're not just selling them for um, sexual favors, but for labor and for body parts.
Mhm.
People are
It's
not taking
very,
all of this. Yeah, they're not taking this into consideration. There's a whole big picture that's going on right now. What would you say to a young girl that's pregnant right now and struggling? Maybe the father is not there. She's got to do this alone. Maybe she has a deep desire to be a mother, because a lot of times I hear young women say, I want love. Well, you're going to give more than you're going to get from no said baby. And
yeah, yeah.
it's a lot of work. That is not able to afford it, or struggling with the choice of, do I give up adoption? Do I have an abortion? What do I do? What would you say to that young woman right now, Catherine?
So again, with the dissolve and resolve emotions, that young woman is going to be in so much shock, so much trauma. She's going to feel her choices are limited, if she even feels that she has any. I would definitely say get in touch, have some sessions. This work, it's not talking therapy, although it does, include some talking at the start of the session, but it's body work as well, because we store these emotions, this shock, this trauma, this fear, this grief, panic in the body. So we use somatic somato emotional release. We work with the cranial base and other parts of the body to release these emotions. When I met Joy, my world was very, very small. I couldn't see choices that I had. By clearing the emotional impact and the shock and the trauma and the PTSD, I was able to be grounded, April, in my body and actually realize I had choice.
Mm.
That's phenomenal to experience
Right,
that.
right, right. That's key,
Any
to know that
any
there is
person,
another pathway.
yes, because we just can't see when we have so much going on around us, within us, people talking at us, making decisions for us. We're lost. We are lost souls. So for anybody in that situation, I would really say get in touch. Let's let's take a step back. Let's deal with what's going on so choices then can be made, and that young women can see what choices they have.
It's
And that
not
goes
just
for
young women.
anyone.
It's not just young women. I've got
No,
a
it goes for
girlfriend.
anyone.
I've got a
Anyone.
girlfriend that got pregnant at 50. I know. I said you. I
Wow.
said. I said you hadn't figured out how that thing worked yet, girl. but what happened is that she was going through the menopause, and
Many
because
women
she
get
was going
caught.
through the
Yeah,
menopause, she was just assured as the day is long that she
yeah.
would not get pregnant. And here she is, delivering a baby at 51 years old, and her world was rocked.
Mhm.
Now she settled in, but it was still very emotionally destructive because
Mhm.
what do I do? I've lived this life. I'm in the second, I'm in the second half of my life. And here comes this infant. And this was with a casual relationship. This wasn't with someone that she was married to. And it was a whole different set of circumstances. Let's talk about perimenopause and menopause because, as you said, the hormones are still there. So if you are going through the transition, I suggest that you use some protection because you can get pregnant.
Mhm.
Um, but the postpartum that she experienced, she said was way out. Again, you got a certain set of emotions when you get 50 years old, there's a certain freedom.
Mhm.
And here you are, you're going to have to reset. And the judgment that you're getting from others. Oh, okay, well, you should just go ahead and abort that. But she says, no, that's not what I want to do. But now she's living with this situation and she's living, they're co parenting the best they can, but it's not the best situation because he wasn't trying to have a child. He wasn't trying to protect himself either. But what do you say to that woman?
So again, I mean, adding perimenopause into the mix. I mean, I'm perimenopausal myself, so I'm 46. So, I would say probably I've been perimenopausal for a few years, more is to come, but I am working on clearing that, trauma, those emotions, those hormonal imbalances, so that the path ahead is easier. Um, because it's very different for every woman, of course, So again, it's really the same message,
Right.
It's get in touch. Let's take a step back. Let's work with the body because what we think, and I know this very well from experience, what we think is going on and what is actually going on hormonally or in the body can be two very different things.
Right.
The mind can very much tell us that things are okay or that things are a catastrophe. But the body, as Joy would say, tells the truth.
Right.
So again, body work. I mean, this work that we do, we do face-to-face work, but we also do it online. Um, and we work with people, we work with clients, and we clear the emotions. So for this particular lady, we would be looking at, sort of the hormones, but also the baby, the
Right.
child. We work with children, we work with babies, we work with pregnant women, anyone, men, boys, girls, anyone. We would look at clearing baby and what babies maybe absorbed from the womb. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's
Right.
fault,
Right.
but this absorption and transference can happen.
But I can see this just really being convoluted because again, she's in the second half of her life.
Yeah.
There's a different type of shame versus a person that's straight out of the gate at 17, 18, 19 years old. You're 50. You feel that you should have figured it out or that this should not have happened to you.
Mhm.
There's a certain pain, there's a certain responsibility. You look at your child graduating from high school, and here you are collecting, your government social security check at that point. When your child has a child, you're going to be a grandmother, but you're going to be the age of a great grandmother. There's a lot of emotion and self judgment that would develop at that point. So again, I will definitely refer her to you because that's a conversation that needs to be had. And it needs to be had from a third party, not from your pastor that knows you, not from your Aunt Martha that knows you, or your sister-in-law or whatever, but somebody that can actually step outside and look at it from an eagle eye view with a different perspective, with a different lens. And that is critical for healing. You have provided us with so much information. I love you, Catherine. I do, and I love Joy too,
Thank you very
because
much.
this is special work that you do. It's not just the normal talk therapy. It's not the normal postpartum. It's not the normal coaching. But this is really something again that goes into the cellular level. It goes into the DNA. It goes into your epigenetics, your history, your life history. And it goes beyond the trauma, and you don't have to relive it, but you have to love who you are, where you are, and respect that. Let's ask you some fun questions, though. Now, you are in the UK. Do you go to Ireland and have a
Yes,
holiday?
yes. So my parents are still there.
Okay.
I'm going actually in a couple of weeks' time.
Are you? Well, I'm coming there in a couple of weeks' time, too. Maybe we'll see each other.
Ah,
If
I'd love
I
that.
were to visit you there in Ireland, where would you take me?
Okay. So it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, I live in the north of the country.
Okay.
Most people think of Dublin, um, which is gorgeous as well. And the countryside down the west of Ireland's beautiful. Belfast is lovely as well. Obviously, things have changed a lot. So there's some beautiful sites along the coast of Ireland, some beautiful coastal walks. There's the Giant's Causeway, you may have heard of that. Um, Beautiful woodland. I love walking in woodland. It's very special. So it's really, it has everything, it has your shopping if that's what you choose to do, nice food, nice places to go. But if you want to just get out of the cities and towns, it's not that far until you're in beautiful scenery.
And I
So
hear that it
any
also
number.
I hear that it also transcends time. That when you're there, you
Yeah.
feel like you're in a mystical, magical place that has, you know, kind of stood still.
It's very different, I mean, to the UK even. And when I do go back home, it really, it's everything's a little bit slower. Everything, there's definitely, it's tangible. I would say it's noticeable. Yes.
Now that you have evolved, you've been through a relationship, you've been through mothering, you've been recovered from your trauma. What have you discovered is your love language?
I do like gifts. I do like, that sort of giving and receiving gifts and time, I think is the best thing, just to receive someone's time, to give your time to someone else, to feel heard, seen, believed, both ways
Right.
is just, and apart from the gifts, which don't have to be very dear, um, all of that's free. All of that is free. I just think time, because we're all
Right.
far too busy at the minute. So just
And
taking the
love is very subjective. I like to ask that question because everybody's requirement of how they want to be loved,
time.
feel love, and in love is different.
Yeah.
And I don't think people communicate that from the onset. They maybe have certain expectations of another person, certain judgments, but it's give and take. And asking a person, what makes you feel good? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you cry? All of those things are important because it goes to the core of who you are and how you want to be treated. Also, a key indicator is how a man talks about his mother.
Very much so,
Okay.
yes.
If you got mommy issues from the onset,
Mm.
I don't know how you gonna feel with your girlfriend. So
Mm.
listen to those types of things. You
Mm.
can already establish your boundaries, but then with that too, have some flexibility because when we get to the age that we are, Catherine, folks are gonna come with some stuff.
Oh, yes. Well, I
Come with some
mean,
stuff.
I understand that. And I'm not like, I'm still learning, I'm still growing.
But
So, yeah,
every
all
day
right.
we're evolving. I've been married 41 years. And me and my
Wow.
husband had a conversation the other day, and it was an aha moment for both of us. And we were like,
Mm.
wow, And I said, do you know everything about me? And he goes, no, nor do I know everything about him. So there are intimate, private secrets that people lock inside their heart and their head. Honor that. If you were an appliance, Catherine, in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be?
Um, I would say a toaster.
A
Um, a toaster. If you want something, warm and comforting, I guess I make some toast myself.
Mm.
So yes, I would say a toaster.
Well, today I'm going to be the garbage disposal because I want to be the place where you grind up and get rid of the things that no longer serve you, the rubbish. That's what
We
I'm.
all need that.
Absolutely. I see that you have flowers back there in the corner. If you were a flower, what flower would you be?
Oh. I well, my favorite flower is actually a white lily. I
Mm,
really like lilies. Um, I I like the presence, the aroma. I think it's unmistakable, and they're not to everyone's choice. My mum doesn't like lilies at all.
mm.
Um, but I would say a white lily to make a presence, and when you enter the house, you know I'm there.
And it is the flower of peace.
Yes, yes, I love a white lily. Yes.
Absolutely. If you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where do you see yourself landing?
I'd like to. I am very interested in ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. So those times, I studied philosophy at university, so I'd like to go and meet some of the philosophers, the ancient philosophers, and um, see what it was really like.
Hmm.
See what it was really like.
And if you could go back and have a conversation with a 18-year-old Catherine Athena, what would you say to her?
Don't worry, you are going to be okay.
Simple and easy, and to ride the wave and to enjoy the journey. And in closing, Catherine, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
As someone who has come and experienced life, um, who has cleared what was needed to be clear, including karma, and lived my soul agenda for this life.
Well, I think that you've done that and more because you have been able to put that in a container and pour into others. And that is so powerful. A lot of times people will just give up, give in, give out, but just to give is um, a true testament to who you are. And I'm glad to know you. I give you your flowers. Let's
Thank you
tell
very
my
much.
brains how to get in contact with you. Brains, have
Okay,
a conversation with Catherine. I really, really encourage that. You don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions. You may want to know your birth family. You may not want to know your birth family. You may want to get over trauma. You may want to deal with it. But again, you don't know what you don't know. Tell them how to get in contact with you, Catherine.
thank you, April. So my website address is www.enlightenedhealthwithdare, all one word, lowercase, .com. Um, Obviously I can send you the details you can put, underneath. And I would also encourage people to contact Joy Wisdom, the founder of Dare. Joy's website is www.alunas, so all on us.co.uk. And Joy also has a trust, Joy Wisdom Trust, and that is www.joywisdomtrust.org. So we all work together.
And that's a beautiful thing that, again, we share that love and continue to direct people to other resources. Everything's
Yes.
not one size fits all. Sometimes you need a little bit more. Sometimes you need a tag team. You need a partner. You need a friend.
Very much.
This is all over the world. I don't care if you're in the UK, the United States, Asia, Indonesia, Africa. We need the support. We are women. We are going to go through some stuff because childbirth, as I clearly defined to you, is not easy on the child and on the mother. Thank you so much for being here with me, Catherine, Athena. Brains, go in and listen to other edgy conversations. Some of them may not be this intense. Some of them may be funny. Some may be finance. Some may be just a good old fashioned story, a made up story, a memoir, a book. But whatever it is, you are going to find clarity, you're going to find love, you're going to find peace, and you're going to find some great people on the edge. We got over 2,000 episodes. Believe and trust. And we are not going anywhere. We are the best podcast on the planet. Leave a comment, become a subscriber, share this. If it's not for you, it is for someone else. Go in, visit Catherine, visit Joy, elevate your frequency to the next level of greatness because I want you to have your highest and greatest good. Thank you so much, Catherine. You are the best. Come back and see me and let's talk offline and see how we might be able to connect either in London or in Ireland. I'd love to
I
see you.
love that. Thank you very much, and look forward to hearing from some of your brain followers. Thank you very much. Very great thing that you do. Thank you, April.
Bye, brains. I love you.